just for
order.
that we never have to lose you.
Jen, you want to do a roll call?
Yes,
Nelson?
Yeah. All right, just kind of give you a little bit of an outline of how this evening's going to go. We are here to discuss about an ordinance for chickens. So what it is that we're going to start here in this committee, and this kind of then will lead to another discussion at the council meeting. There will not be a vote on an ordinance until April the 11th, on a Monday. Now I want to tell you the reason why. Is because I want it out there to where everybody, I want an ordinance out there to where everybody can see it from April the 8th to the time that we vote at 6:30 on April the 11th. Now I have no idea if this will pass by any means, but I want it out there to where at least the ordinance is out there so that everybody can see it. Everybody can contact me, can contact Candy, Selena, Gary, and then also Susie Burgess and Joe Cochran. But that also being said, we do have a replacement alderman that will be sworn in at the April 6th council meeting, and his name is Donnie Walden, and he's standing right back there in the corner with the beard. So he will have a deciding factor in this decision as well. So now I ask that you please be respectful. He has not been sworn in by any means, but after Wednesday. First Wednesday in April, he will be. So kind of the plan is that we are going to go by our ordinance for public comments. Now I'm going to kind of waive the 5 minutes, but we are not going to go over an hour. And we're also going to be respectful to everybody out there in the audience, and then of course everybody up here as well. So I'm just going to kind of turn it over. That's all I got to say. I don't really have a say in the matter since it's a committee meeting. Turn it over to Candy for what she's got.
Thanks for attending, and thanks for all of the comments on Facebook and just everything in general. What I want to start with is just passing out some information that I did put on Facebook, just some of the research that I have done. I'll pass out, I don't know how many copies.
I don't need one. I read it.
I haven't.
We'll have a special meeting for just this, just on chickens.
On the 6th.
No, on April the 11th.
So why would you have that not on the same, like,
Because,
I thought you always did your.
well, but it's because I want it done to where all of the aldermen have a chance to hear. Since we only have 3 here right now, so then also that gives a chance to, I want it to where everybody has a voice in the matter on it. And then also you got the attorney there, because I don't want something written up to where it's like, oh, well, that's not what we talked about in this committee hearing, and then we have to go back and amend it. So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's just how I'm
You're
going to do
gonna
it.
have a special meeting just for that ordinance?
Just for that ordinance, yes, on April the 11th.
That's kind of a waste of tax dollars.
Well, you know what? Then I'll be the first one to write a check out. Somebody else has brought that. I'll be the first one to write a $30 check out to the city.
I'm not trying to be mean.
I know, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's part of our job that we have to do. I'm trying to be very respectful of the matter because there's so many people that are for it and so many people that's against it. So I'm just trying to make it to where, I don't want it to where it's like, well, I didn't get a chance to see the ordinance. I didn't get a chance to voice my opinion. So that's why I'm making it to where there's 3 opportunities for people to talk.
Oh, then, but couldn't it wait till May then to vote?
I would rather get this done and over with.
Okay, so on the first page is from Champaign. His is from Ben Leroy. He's the zoning administrator. I had heard that they have backyard chickens in Champaign, so I reached out to them. So attached is his email where I had reached out to him. So if you would just take a second to read over that email and on the first page, read over that email, and he's basically stating in Champaign they have not had any negative feedback or ordinance violations, and it's basically went well. They have over 87,000 people in Champaign. They currently hold 35 chicken licenses, backyard. They have a pretty strict ordinance. It's about 7 pages long. So some of the stuff that is in here, I have put in here, but not all encompassing. We're just getting here at a base start. Do you have any questions about the email?
Why did you pick a town that's such a bigger population than what we have to
Well,
find that?
I did call Edinburgh. Edinburgh also has a chicken ordinance, but they don't have it on a PDF that they can send it to you. She said I could come over and get a copy of the ordinance, and I said that's okay. She basically said as long as you keep your coop clean, we're good. We haven't had any issues. I did not reach out to Decatur.
Well, again, Decatur's a different size than we are.
Right,
I guess
but
I was looking for,
yes, so I did reach out to Edinburgh. I reached out to Kincaid. They do not have a current chicken ordinance. I reached out to Mowequa, and her comment was, not yet. She said there's not actually a petition been signed yet, but there's a lot of conversations about backyard chickens currently in Mowequa. And I have noticed that a few people have been posting some comments from Mowequa. I don't know if that means yes or no, just some chickens. And so I've reached out to, and I think Pana, if I remember right, does not have a chicken ordinance, but I know that the Edinburgh, Kincaid, I didn't write all of them down, Mowequa, Champaign, and then someone had told me that they had one in Decatur, but I didn't call and get any ordinances or anything. So that's the reason, just wanted to get a little bit of small town and a little bit of big town information. And very nice. And then on the second page is the report to the city council. So if you read through these, and you're not gonna, time will not permit for us to read through this entire city of Champaign, the report to the council, but it was, in order for them to get this adopted, they had to do a study. And so if you read through this, it's got prior council actions on it, on line C. It has a summary. Then it has the background of the previous study session meetings. Champaign had no chickens in 1985, and then in 2013 is when they passed it. They actually, I believe, started in July. And they ended up passing it in November of 2013, after all the studies and everything were done. They did the conditions and the standards. They talked about changes to the draft code amendments. And please, before the next meeting, take time to read this, because this has got good information on the studies. Other communities have actually done our legwork for us. So it's less money to us. The alternatives, those are in here. Discussion of alternatives, advantages are in here. Disadvantages, alternative 2, it has the advantages. One will not require additional staff time to further address this issue. That was a big one, because I did see some comments on Facebook that this is gonna tie up folks' time, and this is an advantage that they found that was not true. Disadvantages will not satisfy residents interested in raising hens for eggs production. So for the folks that didn't want the ordinance, that was the disadvantage. The community input. The community input was media reports and information meetings helped to generate significant local awareness of the proposed code amendment. A mailing list of residents interested in raising hens has been used to send notifications of upcoming meetings about hens, just exactly what we're doing here. October 30th, staff held an information session at the Champaign Public Library to go over numerous residents who support this amendment attended the November 12th study session meeting. The budget impact, they also spoke about that. Preparation of this code amendment was completed by staff. No significant budget impact has been created by this request. There is a possibility that this change could impact the cost of animal control contract if this code amendment results in significant increase in Champaign County animal control response. Champaign County Animal Control is providing impound services for chickens as part of its current contract, and other communities, they have allowed raising hens under code standards similar to those. No increase in animal control response has been observed. and this is from their study. Staffing impact. The research on this topic has consumed a portion of the full-time schedule of one advanced planner with participation from the zoning administrator, neighborhood services, police, and legal staff. So those are the ones that were involved in this study. There will be an impact to the planning development at the permits are submitted and reviewed. It is estimated that this will be approximately 8 to 10 hours in 1 year and 2 to 3 hours in the following years. So 8 to 10 hours of manpower in the first year. And then further consecutive years would be 2 to 3 hours in the following years. If licenses do not comply with the standards relating to keeping hens, additional staff time could be needed. For enforcement from neighborhood services, police, and legal department, based on the experience of other communities, this is anticipated to be very minimal. I found this to be very useful in whether or not that I felt that it would be, that Assumption could maintain and reasonably have backyard chickens. The next page is the 4-H poultry. So currently our students in city cannot participate in 4-H poultry projects that I'm aware of. If anybody is here from 4-H that has different knowledge on that, I would love to hear some of that. So, and you can see if you would, I'm not gonna go through all of this, but there is a very long list of the advantages of 4-H for a community that it has 4-H, the 4-H program. Leadership, I got most of these off of the U of I website. Actually, the chicken down here at the bottom, I think, is the U of I emblem. So there's lots of opportunities here. FFA, the next page is poultry FFA. It's just a small one-page document. If you guys follow the Central A&M FFA, we did have 3 or 4 students that did win 6th place in the poultry judging contest. Those opportunities would then be available to the youngsters and the young ones in the city of Assumption they are not allowed, currently cannot do that. I think in the future that FFA and 4-H is a big deal. I think that your children being able to, if you choose, your children being able to take the responsibility of building a coop, taking care of hens, raising them, and I'm speaking from personal experience as a child, it does teach you a lot. I don't think that it necessarily got me the job that I have today, working in the poultry industry for over 30 years, because it's a whole different avenue. I work in the commercial part of business. I don't work in backyard chickens, but I do have a passion for backyard chickens, as you can tell. The next page was just my cover page for the Assumption Backyard Chicken Project. I just wanted to find a nice looking chicken to put on there. The next page has the egg on it, and these are just fun facts. And doing my research, I actually found out a lot of things that I didn't already know about chickens, and I actually printed some of them off and put them on your table so that you could, get an idea of if we do pass the chickens, maybe this is information that you might use. But backyard chicken eggs 101. During the process of laying an egg, a hen deposits a natural protective coating on the outside of the shell known as the egg bloom. I did not know that when I first started dealing with chickens. Well, when you wash that, you also wash away the protective layer. And I'm just doing some fun education stuff. Unwashed eggs can be stored at room temperature for several days and even a couple of weeks. So if you get your eggs out of your coop, you can put them on your counter. You don't have to wash them, and then they're ready to go. You can actually put them in your basement in a cool, dry place. Washed eggs must be stored in a refrigerator. Eggs will maintain a higher quality when stored in the refrigerator, washed or not. However, unwashed fresh eggs will keep the best. So I just like that information. I did learn that as years ago. Benefits. The next page is benefits of backyard chickens. So one is organic eggs. We have a farmer's market. We have vegetables. We have fruit. We have dogs. We have, I think I've seen a horse up here. Was it a donkey, a horse, or something? So we are a farming community. We have two of the largest farming employers in Christian County in our backyard. So you may not think that you may not agree, but I believe that we're a farming community. I'm not a farming girl. I was born and raised in Decatur, so in the middle of Decatur. So when I moved to the country, I thought, oh no, get me out of here. And we got out of there because I didn't like being out in the country by myself. Secondly, free fertilizer. Currently, fertilizer is going for $26 for 3 to 5 pounds of chicken poop. Okay, that's expensive, and it's very beneficial to your gardens. Anybody who has a garden, I take my chicken poop right from the coop and we put it on our garden. Great pest controls is number 3. They will eat bugs. They'll kill a mouse in a hot second. We lifted up a feeding pan one time and there was a mouse under it, and they killed it in less than like a minute. I know that's maybe not friendly for some of, for some of the animal lovers, but the chicken did not mess around. Bugs, like I said,
I'm confused on that. You say it's a great, what insect would you say, controlled
great pest control.
pest control? I thought that their food and everything attracted pests.
Well,
So how does that work? And then they eat them when they get there?
well, they eat so much food. Their food, once you put it in there, they'll usually gobble it up in a very quick amount of time. Now, if you're constantly throwing garbage and table waste out there and it doesn't get fully eaten by the chicken, you are going to attract varmints. However, if you leave your dog food outside, if you leave your cat food outside, if you leave your trash uncovered, those things all promote rodents to come into the town. I've got a couple of different posts. Someone mentioned the coyotes. Okay, coyotes are looking for a food source. We already have coyotes in Assumption. We have foxes in Assumption. These things are already here. The message is here: if you want to be a responsible pet owner and chicken owner, take care of your coop and take care of your food. Keep it in a closed container. We had a plastic, hard plastic, not a little something, because your squirrels are going to want to get in there. We never had an issue. So I hope that answers your question. They're quiet, well-behaved family pets. Not everybody is going to choose to have a backyard chicken as a family pet. Some are going to strictly want the chickens for their eggs, and then some are going to want to butcher their chickens. And you'll have to, butcher, if you're going to butcher your chickens, they need to be young chickens because old chickens are just not. A chicken will lay for about 5 years. So if you start up your fee at about $75 to start your chickens, they're going to lay eggs for 5 years. And they lay 1 egg a day. Sometimes they crack. You don't keep the cracked eggs. So you'll see on the next couple of pages what I mean when I say quiet, well-behaved family pets. Extra cash for our farmers market.
So you will be able to sell the eggs out of your backyard? That
Well,
would
we
be
can
allowed,
sell,
right?
no, not out of my backyard. I'm assuming that we could probably sell them up at the farmer's market, just like somebody does vegetables.
They
But-
will have to you have to deal with the USDA on that one. If you wanna sell it, you have to register with them,
Can you give them away?
you can give them away for donation, yeah.
But do you
It's
still
all
have,
just technicality.
do you still have to go through the USDA? Okay. It gets the kids outside. Really, I don't want to bring up the pandemic because everybody's tired of hearing about the pandemic, but I know a few kids around town, plus adults, that would have benefited from having some backyard chickens and something to keep them busy. I seen it, I experienced it.
And you think chickens would have made the difference on that?
No, it wouldn't have made a difference on the pandemic, but I believe that based on my experience of chickens, instead of sitting in the house, maybe playing video games, they're out doing chores with the chickens and doing,
Dogs or cats or
Exactly.
the other animal they have.
exactly, so why not chickens, right? Yes.
I'm just saying, that's not the only alternative, that's, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I totally agree, but I'm speaking from experience. Sustainable living. There for a while, you couldn't even get toilet paper, right? You would've had some fresh eggs out back though. FFA projects, that's the important one. 4-H projects, that's the important ones. This is not because Candy wants to have backyard chickens. This is because this is for our community, for the future of our kids to have the same opportunities, for everybody. I say a lot, I'm sorry, but that's,
Can I interrupt there too?
yes, yes,
I'm sorry,
please.
I have a lot of questions.
No, and I may not be able to answer them all, but I'll do my best.
Okay, so 4-H, you go back to the chickens, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But there are a lot of other options for 4-H kids besides chickens and livestock. There's space, engineering, technology, there's arts and crafts, there's photography, there's public speaking, there's plant science, which is your flowers, gardening, and crops, there's woodworking, there's domestic arts like cooking and canning and sewing. So chickens aren't the only option for the 4-H kids
Absolutely.
in the FFA.
Absolutely,
There
but they
other-
are an additional benefit.
They are an additional benefit, but
Yes.
that's not the only option they have. It's not that they can't be in there if they don't have chickens.
Right, but
They
I'm
still
only,
have other
I'm
options.
only encompassing chickens.
Right,
So,
well,
but,
you mentioned how
yeah.
it shows them leadership and
Yes.
responsibility. All these things can also show that where chickens aren't required.
sure,
But if that's not what they're interested in, and they're interested in chickens, that's another option for them.
Or
Well,
they're
I
eating.
agree
Why
with
not?
that. I'm just saying that's not the only option.
Right,
they
of
have.
course, but that's a great benefit for chickens if there's somebody who isn't interested in the other options.
But is there
having
any of
there.
that available in Assumption that you just
Oh,
mentioned?
yeah.
Woodworking or
They
is
can do all
for
sorts of
kids, for
projects on their
kids?
own. Yeah.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
lots
they go to the
of,
state fair with all this
Well, I know
stuff.
that.
I was in 4-H and I didn't have chickens.
Right.
yeah, you don't have to, it's just an additional option.
Right, and I never said it wasn't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just wondered how they
I did not know that, I knew that 4-H was more encompassing, but I didn't necessarily know the science and the so, well, I knew about the science because there's no there.
And if you go to the state fair, you'll see all that stuff.
I'm talking about in the community.
Scrapbooking, people, the kids do them on their own, they do their own projects. Like scrapbooking, photography, they take their own.
Most kids around here I see sit on the game most of the time, so
Oh, well, I have one scrapbooking every year.
Well, that's good.
good.
I just didn't know if there was some kind of program here in town.
Okay, okay.
All right.
That's- All right,
Alright, so I've just got just a couple more minutes.
it's 5.
So basic proposed requirements for backyard chickens, up to 6 hens. Chicken coops must be located in the backyard. That fence is just a recycled pallet fence, it's just a picture. Enclosed coop fully fenced, including the top. Your coop must be enclosed so that you will be required to put your chickens up every evening. With that being said, your coop will have to have proper ventilation. In the summer where the windows were open, but your chickens aren't in there during the day, but in the evening it still gets hot. This here does say only residents of single-family homes, but it is all, will include multi-family homes too. But we, copying off of some other ordinances, I didn't wanna put in apartments because, you know, that would be the whole landlord thing.
issue.
This is my basic proposal. I'm willing to, you know, we can add more stuff, there is gonna be more stuff added, for example, food, storage. You can't just leave your chicken feed out, you know, next to your chicken coop, because it will be gone in the morning, and you will have to pay $30 for another bag of chicken feed. And then, this is just one of my favorites, that's, my grandson, at a very young age, with his favorite chicken. Sorry, Damien, you didn't know that was in there. So that chicken actually used to go down the slide with Damien. So, just a fun one. Second to last page is the ward map. I've had a couple of residents reach out to me wanting to know what ward they were in. So I have included that in everybody's packet. Can you raise your hand if you know what ward you're in? Janet will be adding that also to the website, and if you guys, we do have a new website that Gary and Janet, and I don't know who else, worked it, but we do have a new website, so if you're not currently subscribed to that, you know, get on that website, and there's a lot of information. But here is the ward, keep it for your future reference. Susie Burgess, and I'll mess this up, so,
And Selena.
Janet.
Are you talking about which ward?
Yeah, Ward 1 is Susie Burgess.
No. Ward 1 is Gary and then Donnie.
Okay, I knew I'd mess that up. So Ward 1 is Gary. Ward 2 will be Donnie.
No.
Ward 1,
Ward 1 is Donnie.
Donnie.
You are,
Ward 2 is myself and Joe Cochran. Keep going.
Ward 3
Ward
then
3
is Selena
is
Susie
Selena
Burgess.
and Susie Burgess, who is in the audience.
That's okay.
So, thank you for your time, and please support Backyard Chickens in our farming community. The benefits, education, and sustainability can help our community grow for many years to come, and is for all ages to experience and enjoy. And thank you for your time.
So Candy, I got a question. So you guys want chickens in town. So all these people that's gonna get chickens, y'all gonna have an ordinance saying they have to have a big fence around it? I mean, we have ordinance on the books now. You got cars sitting around, you got junk sitting around, you got dogs running around, you got cats running around. The ordinance on the books. So now we're gonna do chickens, we're gonna put up a big fence, and then the neighbors won't have no complaint about the chicken getting out or anything. And then I just heard today, a guy on, let's see, that part of town over there across the tracks, he wants a goat.
Your yard does not have to be, that's not my proposal, your yard does not have to be fenced in. The coop has to be fully fenced in, but not your yard, but it does need to be in the backyard.
So
That's
you're
my
saying when the
proposal.
coop, like out in the shed, you got a little shed out there, so you just fence around that shed and you don't have to worry about the chickens getting out? Is that what you're saying?
Will you have to get a building permit for the chicken coop?
It would just depend on the size of it based on our ordinance.
Well, and then you say a fee, what's a license gonna cost?
Well, I
That's
mean, I'm
something we can talk
proposing,
about.
these are the
Well,
things
there
that we
you
talk
go
about.
again, you got dogs running loose, are they tagged? You got cats running loose, are they tagged? You got a neighbor who's got 14 rats, are they tagged? Is all these animals getting tagged?
Right, so, but, I mean, I can't speak to that because I can, as an alderman, I can reach out to people in my ward if there's a complaint, but as a citizen, you know, you could also, and I don't know, maybe you already have, maybe you've reached out to your neighbors and said, hey, your cat is in my yard. And then if you can't fix that issue with your neighbor, then you take it to the next level. I mean, I don't know.
All I'm saying is, you guys, I'm not for the chicken, so I gather you know that, okay? So you have ordinance, okay? Why make another ordinance? We're not enforcing the ordinance we have.
That has nothing to do with my proposal.
That has nothing to do with your proposal. But if your proposal passes and we have chickens, say they get out from the chicken coop and they run all over the neighborhood. Now who you gonna call to get those chickens? Janet's not in the office after 12 o'clock. Who you gonna call?
Well, to answer that, what I
Hang on, we'll finish this too.
I can't hear that's good. I don't know what I'm
He's back
saying.
in the corner.
Huh?
Okay,
He's back in the corner.
Well, they gotta be on duty to get them.
okay, guys, Martin, is it Mark?
Joe?
Yeah.
Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You buy what said fighting rooster chickens.
Excuse me?
You buy chickens and some of them are fighting chickens. If roosters are, you can walk across the yard and the thing will jump on you.
Well, if sometimes that is the case, that if you go and buy six hens from Rural King, sometimes you get a rooster in the bunch. Well, you get that,
You don't know what you're getting when
you
you buy
will.
a bunch when you get it.
you will, eventually you'll know when your birds start to mature, you'll know you have a rooster. So, you will either, Yes.
Roosters are.
Yeah, roosters won't be allowed.
It's a chicken.
Thank God.
Chickens
And there was roosters, and all the neighbors complained about the noise. And I'm not sure what the
Anything
ordinance.
can have an attitude though.
My proposal is no roosters. My proposal is no roosters.
I see it said 6.
Okay, Joe.
Regardless, you talked about the half earlier, the chicken deal is that it's only natural, it's not the chicken's fault. They bring in coons, skunks, moles, or minks, weasels. It's not the chicken's fault, you can't keep them out of town. I talked to somebody that was in the city working years ago when they had an ordinance, when they finally got rid of it. We have got over 50% less wild animals in town now than we had. Now you're gonna bring them back.
Where did you get that data from, that we have 50% less animals?
Than you did back in the 70s when they had chickens in town in the 60s.
Well, that could be pretty much, also could be contributed to the fact that they don't want to have any prairie grass. I mean, there are, other
They come in town where the
circumstances.
chickens are at. It's not the chicken's fault.
No, I'm not saying that it is, but if you have a good enclosed chicken coop and a good fenced chicken coop, your chances of that happening are very low. Like I said, cat food, dog food, we already have all of these animals in town. We already have these rodents in town.
But you're not gonna keep a weasel out of a chicken coop.
I'm not saying that you won't, that's just, that's part of the backyard chickens. I mean, that's the,
One of the negatives.
and I will tell you, I'll tell you kind of a funny story, is Tina Redmond and where the Remington lives right now, and then my house, we had a family of owls that lived there for 3 years. And they had 3 different batches of babies. And where I'm going with this is that owl, it's not funny, but it was kind of ironic. A friend of mine was going to work and the sun was just coming up. There was a cat walking across the street that had a mouse in its mouth. And the owl swooped down, picked up the cat and the mouse, and took it away. So there are several predators in our own trees for your cats, your dogs.
I've seen a lot of hops in there.
There's a lot of hawks. I mean,
They're coming in on their own, we're not.
Who is
My-
going to receive the calls that I'm complaining about so-and-so? Who's gonna receive those calls, and how quickly are they going to be addressed?
it would be PJ, but could you start with your neighbor first?
That you can, sometimes you don't get along with your neighbor.
Yeah. They go,
You're not my neighbor,
Yeah.
I can own your chickens.
You know, I mean-
Sometimes you don't get along with your neighbor, you don't have that cordial backyard talk.
I do understand, I do understand that, but it wouldn't
You've
be,
seen repeated and repeated things. Who is going to be the person that goes and knocks on the door, says, okay, this is going on? How quickly after you complain will that be addressed? Is it gonna be a week, 2 weeks?
Well, it would be PJ, as our animal control officer. The
All the
one that'll
animal
handle
questions,
that.
I'm the animal guy.
But also, like
They're not a
currently,
24-hour call either.
he has officer discretion on some matters. However, the plan is that I see this being very, very strict. I mean, I gave you're talking about enforcing ordinances, I gave Candy one. I got bashed so bad on, on my own phone and of course Facebook. So we will need to enforce, that is the plan. I understand, I have stray cats that come into my yard as well. I don't mind that, that's just me personally, but I do see everybody's point on the loose of
But
animals.
dude, we've got dogs running all over. I was at cemetery today, okay? Bob Kaufman, good great, I was over there. I don't know, a big dog.
You just have, we understand, we're working on that issue too. Uh-huh.
They-
You know what,
Okay, okay.
How many people had chickens before they told us we couldn't?
I'm gonna say around 7.
Yeah, and see, a lot of people didn't even know that people.
My
had
neighbors
chickens.
didn't even know I had them for the entire time I had them.
Yeah, my neighbors had them, I didn't know, no idea that you ever mentioned it.
And my coop is cleaner than some houses that I've seen. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not the best housekeeper, but my coop was clean.
That's the next question I have, so she had brought up.
Let's let Jody, Joe.
Wait, how long have we had the no chicken ordinance in Assumption?
1991.
When?
1991.
Thank you. I just want to know.
But there was a lot of people that had chickens not too long ago.
Correct.
That nobody knew that they had.
Well, you know what, that's fine. They kept them in their coops, and they took
nobody
good
knew.
care of them, and nobody knew.
Right.
How are you gonna stop everybody from getting, oh, the chicken is so cute.
Okay, Lexi.
Safe to say that that's a good, example of like how many people actually want chickens, or the ones that are willing to do it without the ordinance.
Or how many people are willing to break an ordinance in order to have chickens?
Well, sure, but that's still a good example of how many people really want it, so therefore I think the people who are willing to follow the ordinance would follow the ordinance fully if they could, if they're not gonna get the chickens until
But
the
they
ordinance is
didn't
passed,
follow
then
the
therefore they're
ordinance.
probably gonna follow the ordinance as well.
But
They're
they didn't
probably
follow
doing
it
that.
originally to have chickens, so why would they follow a new ordinance?
Well, they were clearly following the ordinance that exists.
So I see the dogs, I see people have dogs all the time that don't feed them.
Okay, Lexi. All right.
Okay. I'm pretty quiet, so I'm just listening.
Okay.
But, I know somebody said earlier about selling the eggs at the farmer's market, you have to go along with the FDA. I just did a quick Google search, and you can sell them at the farmer's market. All you have to do is label them as ungraded eggs. Great House Goods, they just had a baked grade. All the profits went straight to Ukraine. And the baked goods were made in the woman's home, and all she had to do was label them that they were made in a residential home and they were not FDA approved, and she could still sell them. So it's possible. But also, I wanted to say, like, this is just about chickens. Okay, let's keep it away from Candy. Candy is a really nice person, a great alderman. Assumption is very lucky to have her. She's intelligent. Let's just keep that away from Candy.
Thank you very much. This is the first time I've met you today, and I really appreciate that. Sorry.
Fix your hearing aids,
Try.
Sue.
So you can hit me.
Who else has things to say?
Ricky?
I didn't make up my mind one way or another on these chickens right off the bat, so I started to do my own research. And the first place I came to was the CDC. And the first post that I came across was the 2020 study on salmonella. And there was 1,722, these are salmonella illnesses directly linked to backyard flocks. Illnesses were 1,722, this is in the United States. Hospitalizations was 333 and there was one death. Okay. And posted in November 18, 2021, there was 1,135 illnesses, 273 hospitalizations, and 2 deaths. As of 2015, in the United States, there have been 5 deaths total linked to backyard chickens. Straight from the CDC.
What's
You
the
can look it up.
percentage? What's that percentage in the United States?
Next to 0.
Okay.
How often has this town listened to the CDC period? On average?
I mean, your
We
spinach.
listened to them pretty good during the
Spinach.
pandemic.
Spinach has salmonella.
Do you know how you got salmonella?
Dogs have ringworm, cats have ringworm.
It's from the chicken poop.
So if you're scared of getting salmonella, just don't get chicken.
But who's to say that they're not washing the eggs when they take them up to the farmer's
Who's
market?
to say,
We're not washing our
who's to
hands.
say your vegetables don't have them, because you get salmonella from the grocery
True.
store. So you just wash them yourself.
Or that everybody's
Right now, it's not a threat.
Stuff when you take it home, no matter where you get
And
it.
the farmer's market.
For God's sakes, I've washed and
Every
bleached
day.
my food.
So that would be the same.
The same thing with eggs.
This was a study from the CDC. So,
And I appreciate that.
Almost 25% of the illnesses were in children of age of 5 or less because it affects children more.
Children and elderly have lower immune systems. That's with anything, but I do appreciate you doing some research on it. Salmonella is everywhere.
You were talking about the coops, and I looked at some of the other ordinances of some of the other towns, and they require a 4 foot by 4 foot cubicle for each chicken.
Yes,
4 foot by 4 foot.
right.
Start stacking those cubes together, you have 4 chickens, you got a 16-foot room. Okay, and then the other part of the ordinance was, it had to be at least 10 feet from a dwelling. So, you start adding all this stuff together, and none of our lots are big enough to have more than 4 chickens in this town, if we go by their ordinances.
Well, then, if that's what we choose to do as a community, to take that ordinance, I'll take 4 chickens. I'm good with 4 chickens.
Yeah,
I'm just proposing up to 6. They say the minimum you need is 2, that you don't wanna have 1 chicken.
yeah.
So, I would be more than happy to take, a suggestion of 4 chickens.
What are you gonna do when the neighbor starts complaining about, they don't wanna look out there and see a chicken coop?
You can't control everybody's property. If you don't like someone's property, you can't tell them you don't, that they have to get rid of it. It's their property. That, I feel like will really start, and that's a part of your, you take when you live in town.
If you want that kind of stuff, you live out of the city limits.
Well, nobody should be able to tell somebody else what they have on their property bothers them, because they're the ones who pay the taxes
They do.
on their property. So if you
But
look
you
out
don't
at
want-
my house and say, oh, I don't like your fence, well, too bad, that's my
Yeah,
house, I pay the bills there, you know.
Yeah, but the fence doesn't make it.
If I keep my house real neat, somebody can.
I like
Well, have you seen some of the houses in this town?
I have.
Okay.
Right, so
Okay.
maybe they
Stephanie,
should
hang
get on
on,
those.
okay.
Mr. Ashenhurst, do you have a comment? I think he was trying to talk.
You have something to say, Bob?
Not now, but I can tell you about the chickens. I was on the farm, we had over 200 chickens every year, maybe 400. And we ate and lived on the chicken in the summertime.
Yes, sir.
And you can get a batch of chickens, I don't care who they are, you can get a batch of chickens that's fighting the rooster. The kid can jump out, you can jump off of something there when you're small, and the damn chicken will jump on you.
Only once.
Huh?
Only once.
No, you might get 10 or 15 in the bunch.
Only once, cause he's getting his head cut off as soon as he attacks me. And he's going in the pot.
No, you wouldn't do it.
Huh?
You wouldn't do it.
No, but I could find somebody that would.
You can take, the other thing is, you can take a stick and swing that and hit the chicken right behind the crown of it. You can knock them out.
I'll carry a big stick.
That's fun. When you're a kid, that's fun to do
Good
it.
thing to know.
Okay, we'll go to Stephanie and then Jody. Stephanie, what do you
I have
got?
a couple of things. I've never lived on a farm, but do dogs bark at chickens? Will it increase the dog barking in town? I'm only asking, I don't know the answer to this, I don't have a dog. I just wondered if dogs would bark at chickens constantly.
I think it depends on the dog.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing I have is she had brought up when you can call PJ if something got out, right? What about the smell? So Candy, I'm sure you keep yours perfectly clean. You
Yes.
can't guarantee that for everybody.
Right.
Okay. But what happens when the smell becomes bad? Who determines when the smell is bad and how does that get resolved? I know you brought up keeping it for compost, right? Well, that can smell if you build it up instead of putting it straight in your garden, because you're not gonna have a garden all season long, or
Right.
all year long.
Right.
So what happens in that case? Who gets to determine that?
I guess it would be, your neighbor, if your neighbor says, look, I can smell your chickens. I mean,
So BJ goes and tells them.
You want to say
unless
something?
he's dealing with a, like
Follows through to make sure they get rid of it?
Okay.
I'm just asking.
Do they get rid?
It'd be similar to a dog,
Ordinance violation?
you know, if they pull out so much
Yeah, so
feces
do I.
and pile up,
Yeah,
hey, your
there's-
neighbor can smell it, if you don't fix it, you'll get a ticket.
So you go and do that then? Okay, I didn't know that. That's
And
what
then
I
they
was
can
asking.
have warnings and then you'd fine them, right?
Right.
Like you do the dogs?
Yeah, that's
So
what.
that would bring in revenue for the people who are bad and not listening.
There you go.
That's the whole idea.
The waste
Yeah,
of
but
the
it does,
chicken, like the straw and stuff there in winter time, or you allow to dump it out to the city dump?
Okay, let her, go ahead, her repeat.
I mean, if this passes, you know, the straw for winter out in the chicken coop with chicken pee and poop all over, are you allowed to take it to the city dump, or how are you supposed to dispose?
Yeah,
Get rid of it?
I would say no on that, because we can't
I mean,
take
that's
anything
something you
that's waste related out there and burn it.
So what are you
gonna do with that?
Because we can't burn it and you can't give it to Advanced.
Put it in your garbage.
We can't give it to it, you cannot put animal waste, you're not supposed to. If you follow the rules.
Well, I see people putting their dog poop in garbage cans all over.
Right.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Where are you putting your dog poop?
Where do you put your stuff when you clean your cages, Candy?
In my garden, or I give it to family members that put it in their garden. I
And
mean,
then,
if you don't have 200 chickens, you don't have a lot of waste
But you have some, so where you been putting it?
in my gardens.
But your garden's not tilled right now, so you're just laying it on top.
No, these are my
I
flowers.
get
These are
chicken.
flower beds. When I say gardens, I'm not talking about, I don't do vegetables and stuff like that. I barely keep a plant, you know, but I do have a couple of different areas in my backyard that I have flower beds in. And instead of buying the, mulching chips, then my bedding is pine chips. So that's used in the coops, for warmth and comfort. But the chickens they don't sit in the bedding. They'll actually roost on a stick. Some will sit, it's just wherever they get used to. They'll stay in the same place, and they'll go in their coop every single night.
and they can be stored in a compost thing, bowl thing that don't.
Yes, I
let
have
in
read
or out.
that, that can be put into a composting pile. Unlike dog feces and cat feces cannot, be put into a compost pile.
Okay, are there any other comments? We don't wanna leave any comment out.
All right,
Jody?
Thank you. If the ordinance passes, or this, whatever,